Hi, Ian Roberts and Mastering Composition. So a friend sent me a photograph a little while ago of their cottage, and their family wants her to paint it. And really, the photograph doesn't have much promise. I'll show it to you in a minute. But I wanted to talk about this idea of how do you find photographs that are worth painting? Originally, I called this series the laboratory of the painting process, meaning what are the things that are going on behind the scenes that allow us to make paintings. And so finding the photographs, obviously, is a big part of what's going on behind the scenes. I'd say I have about 20,000 digital photographs. I've got prints and slides from before that. And I never take photographs, or very seldom, of people and snapshots. I'm generally just using my camera in terms of finding things that might make interesting paintings. And if I'm at a really engaging place, like Provence in the early morning, I might be getting 1 in 50 that I'd be willing to paint. If it's just like taking pictures over time, maybe 1 in 100, 1 in 200, you're curating the world to find things to paint or find things to photograph. And then you're curating your photographs in order to find, through the lens of the painter, something that will work in the language of painting, which means the cropping, the structure, the design, the value masses. I mean, we're making a painting that is embedded in the composition. And that's what you're really wanting to look for when you're taking the photographs. So I'm going to share 5 photographs, which I have not yet painted, and just show you my thinking process, both in cropping and doing a drawing of them and thinking my way through it. 5 photographs, and you may see them in some weeks ahead. So I hope you enjoy it. Here's the photograph of the cottage that I mentioned. And so if you just look at it structurally, you certainly have horizontals. There's the one along the shoreline, the horizon line, say, and some of the building. And we've certainly got verticals in these trees. And we certainly have a center of interest. But it's really a subject-driven thing, my cottage, let's say. It's not very exciting, and there aren't really any big masses. I mean, you could say that's a big mass of trees, but they're kind of soupy. They don't really have much form to kind of give them definition. And it's an overcast day, and I suggested, in the morning, if the sun's coming like this, where this is light and casting shadows or something, it might be more interesting. So this is an overcast day. And when there's an overcast day, we have to find lights and darks that are going to create the contrast without the sunshine hitting things, big shapes of light and dark. So we certainly have good verticals here, lots of horizontals, and we have a center of interest. I find these big, simple shapes, look at how big and simple these shapes are, all leading to here. So again, we have that idea from last week of the contrast and tension of big shapes to little shapes. And I did a sketch of that, of just simple squares, pretty much, for the different structures leading to where I want you to go. Now there we have a sunny day in California with a good sense of light and dark, shadow and sunlight. This just needs to be cropped to give it more drama. This, to my mind, now has a lot of potential. I love the way this road goes down here, gets overlapped there, turns here, gets overlapped there, reappears, disappears, reappears, back to the center of interest there. There's a beautiful amount of information there. I would probably make that paler and bluer and push it back so there was more depth. But we certainly have horizontals, verticals, center of interest. It's very clear. And there's the sketch. And again, it's just I learn a lot about what's going to happen when this image gets translated to the picture plane and I'm starting to play with the lights and darks. What's going to happen when I start to paint? This is a market scene in the south of France, and it looks busy, and there's obviously things we wouldn't necessarily want to paint and all this stuff going on back. It's just, and this is all bleached out in terms of the actual photographic quality. But if you crop it, and I would probably reduce the amount of information right there so it kind of falls even further back, I think you'll find that that could turn into a really nice painting. And again, you'll notice that there's the huge contrast here and here that is pulling us to these small, simple light shapes with this very large dark shape. There's a very big contrast and tension of light and dark. So on this one, you're probably going to say, okay, I think Ian has lost it here. This looks like a junkyard. But again, if we crop it, we start to get this kind of interesting interplay of these forces, tension, leading right to here. Big dark shapes against light shapes, leading to sort of a tension of information, complex and engaging here, large and simple pretty much everywhere else. And just so you don't think I'm a complete nutcase on this, this is a painting by Dennis Miller Bunker, who was a contemporary of Sargent. And it's not a junkyard, it's probably like a place where they cut stone or something. But again, it's the same idea of just big dark shapes, light shapes. And is it really about subject matter, or is it just design-driven value, contrast, tension, engagement? And there's my simple sketch of it. And I'm really quite excited to paint this. I really like these big, simple shapes against the complex shapes and the big sort of drama of the lights and the darks. Then finally, an image from Corsica, the island of beauty. I can't remember the name of the town. But this one, obviously, really good sort of horizontal and vertical structure. There's a notch here in the clouds that I would emphasize so that we're getting a pull up to here. And there's a nice interplay between the buildings up here, those complex geometric shapes, and the big sweep of the landscape here. So I read a great quote this morning I wanted to share with you. It says, "The world is a museum, and you are the docent." I think finding and trusting what you want to paint is really important. So please do like the video. That thing about buying the paintings, available paintings, and I pointed up here, it's actually a little white dot way over in that corner. And please do subscribe and do sign up for my email list so that you get this video each Tuesday morning in your inbox. I don't share the list with anyone. I don't sell it to anyone. There's just that one email. I hope you have a terrific week. I will see you next Tuesday. Bye for now.